service. Now, this is a fully managed container orchestration for running Docker containers. It abstracts infrastructure complexities to provide a straightforward approach for container deployment. There is seamless integration with AWS services, as like AWS services like such as IAM or Secret Manager or KMS. There is native support of using like other services which are very popular, which applications we have seen frequently use, like SQS, which is a simple queue service, as well as you would have EFS, or like you could have shared repository if an application needs to have that. So that is where they provide a lot of easy integration with AWS services. There is seamless Docker container deployment because what AWS provides is Elastic Container Registry, where one can provide we push the code to the repository. The repository itself can scan the container to ensure there are no vulnerabilities, and thus providing a seamless experience rather than one going to, say, putting in GitHub in a separate container repository, and or going to JFrog, it could be a private repository. AWS provides a lot of this out of the box of the repository, and you could have it a lot of parameters. So let me jump to the console and show you what exactly I mean by the AWS services. So I have logged in. This is the login for AWS, and the ECS service, if I have to choose, I could just type in here, and I could come as part of I open in a tab. So this is where one would land for the ECS service. Now, I'll get to the part where I create the ECS service, but let me first show the repository as well. Now, this is where you see it's the ECR repository. Clicking on it, it's going to open the repository. Now, I have not set up anything, so please put in the comments if you want to have me create another deep dive tutorial specifically on ECS. But for the sake of time for this presentation, I didn't want to kind of go long and show, but this is where you could create a repository. You have the option of creating a private and a public repository. A public repository is such as like GitHub. You would want to have the setup done required for other applications, but this is where you could create it. I could create it as ECS repo, or I could put it as container repo. I would want to have it as private for me. Now, this is where I was saying you could have the image scan settings done. That is like, if you want to have your container scanned, you could ensure they're scanning properly. So it should only accept lowercase letters. Let me just do it. This is where you could also have encryption in place. Now, we definitely recommend to our customers to have KMS enabled, and we do recommend to put our own KMS key rather than AWS's key. So that is a topic for another time, but this is something that we recommend. For now, I'll keep this disabled because I just wanted to show you all. This is the repository that is used, that we could use as part of the ECS service creation. Now, this is the repository that you see. You could come in here. You could come to the repositories setting out here. You could put the permissions for the setting repository. I could create the policy that which particular principals can access the repository. I could have lifecycle repository. When I want, what we have seen a lot of times happen is when there are a lot of deployments happening. So this repository could have a lot of stale or very old versions for which you would want to have lifecycle policy so that the older containers, they are cleaned up. And that is where your cost efficiency also improves. And this is where you would be having images. I have not pushed anything, but just I wanted to show you. Let me know if you do want to get into details of this, and in my next video, I'll show you how to go about creating these images as well. But this is the repository that is created. And you could see that it'll provide you all the push commands that you could run from your local repository, where this is for Windows, this is for Mac. And then if I come here to the cluster, now ECS, what I would be able to do is I could come here, I could create a cluster. I could say ECS cluster, and I could, the namespaces, if I want, I could choose this. So this is where the namespace would be essentially like, it's going to be similar to Kubernetes and something we can walk through. It allows to specify a group of services that make up your application. And now for infrastructure, again, other options. That is, we have AWS Fargate, and we have Amazon EC2 instances. AWS Fargate is a serverless model, but also it is a black box model in the sense that EC2 It provides flexibility that one can SSH into the VM or and then be able to check the container status or whether the logs of the container. So that is something one can feel more comfortable with. But with serverless, it is with Fargate, you will just deploy your applications and AWS takes care of the rest. That is the scaling as well as the management, thus leaving you with minimal work. But again, with any PaaS service, which is a platform as a service, it'll be a little more expensive compared to a VM that you manage yourself. But for this video, I'll just choose serverless, because if I have to choose EC2, I will have to provide a key pair and all those things, something that I'll kind of skip for now. And you could see there is a monitoring option here. Container Insights, it provides a little more managed monitoring about your particular container, how it is responding. Something we do recommend our customers to enable. This video, I'll just keep it disabled. Tagging is definitely we recommend. The cost center, the billing code, or the organization, any of those metrics that are pulled out for reporting purposes, something we definitely recommend. But I'll just hit create. And as you can see, it will create a cluster for me. So while this is being created, please like, subscribe, share the video. Please contact us for any of your cloud requirements or cloud consulting requirements. We have decades of experience in cloud, and we can definitely help your organization take the right step in cloud. With that, thank you and see you in the next video.